The one rule at Grandma's house was simple. Never open the room at the end of the hallway. Every time I visited my grandma's house as a kid, there was always this feeling, like the walls were listening. The air was heavy, like it knew secrets we weren't allowed to ask about. Even when the TV was on or the smell of fried catfish filled the kitchen, the silence in that back hallway never felt right. And at the very end of that hallway, there was a door. Old white paint cracking at the edges and a silver doorknob that always felt cold, even in summer. It was always locked. Once, when I was maybe 8, I asked my grandma what was inside. She just said, "That room's not for you, baby," and gave me a look like I had said a bad word. When I got older, I stopped wondering. We didn't go to her house much anymore. She got sick, and my mom didn't like driving down to Atlanta from Stone Mountain unless it was really necessary. The last time I saw Grandma Dolores, she barely remembered who I was. She kept calling me Ray, which I figured was just a mix-up from the dementia. Then she died. The funeral was quiet. No choir, no long speeches. Just a few cousins I hadn't seen in years. My Aunt Carla trying not to cry, and my mom, stone-faced in the second row like she was already somewhere else. After the service, Mom told me we'd need to help clear out the house that weekend. I didn't argue. I hadn't been back inside that house in 5 years, and part of me was curious about that locked room. We drove up on Saturday. It was raining, and the whole street looked like something out of an old movie. Peeling shutters, leaning fences, wet mailboxes. Grandma's house was still the same. Yellow paint, chipped porch steps, that creaky screen door. Inside smelled like lemon cleaner, dust, and old memories. We started in the kitchen. Mom was boxing up dishes and clearing out cabinets. I took the hallway, and that same door. Except this time, it wasn't locked. The doorknob turned with a soft click, and the door creaked open, like it had been waiting for someone. The room was small, no windows. The wallpaper was pale blue with little birds on it, faded from age. There was a twin bed pushed against the wall, a bookshelf with no books, and a rocking chair in the corner. It didn't look scary. It looked lonely, like someone had lived there, someone who wasn't allowed to decorate, who wasn't allowed to leave. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. The air felt different in there, heavy, like it had been holding its breath for years. I looked around slowly. There was a picture frame on the nightstand with no photo in it, just the backing. A small music box, the kind you wind up, sat on a shelf. I twisted it a little. It played a few notes of a lullaby before stopping. Then, near the closet, I saw it, a loose floorboard. Not super obvious, but just enough that the edge didn't match the rest. I knelt down and pried it up. Underneath was a small, worn-out notebook. It was purple, the kind with glitter in the cover that had mostly rubbed off. A sticker on the front read RH in faded ink. I opened it. The handwriting inside was messy, like someone young had written it. First page. My name is Raina. I don't know what day it is. Grandma says I'm not allowed outside anymore. She says I talk too much, but I don't think I do. I just think out loud sometimes. I read the page twice, then flipped through the rest. Dozens of entries. Some short, some long. Some where the writing got shaky, like whoever wrote it was crying or scared. And the way she talked about mama and baby brother, it didn't make sense. Because as far as I knew, my mom never had a sister. I went back to the kitchen with the notebook in my hand. "Mom," I said, holding it up, "do you know who Raina is?" She froze. Like, completely froze. Didn't even put down the glass she was drying. Then she turned and looked at me. "Where did you find that?" "In the back room." She walked over and took the notebook from my hands like it was a weapon. "I told you not to go in there," she said, her voice low. "You never told me anything about that room," I replied. She opened the journal, stared at the handwriting, then shut it and held it to her chest. "Raina was someone who used to live here. That's all." "That's all?" I asked. "She wrote about you. She said you were her sister." My mom's eyes got glassy, but she looked away and walked out of the room without answering. Later that night, after we got back home, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the journal, about the room, about the way Mom's face changed when I said Raina's name. So I called my Aunt Carla. She answered after 2 rings. "Hey, baby," she said. "Everything all right?" "Kind of," I said. "Can I ask you something?" "Course you can." "Who was Raina?" There was a long pause, then a quiet sigh. "Lord?" she whispered. You found her journal, didn't you? So she's real? Yes, baby, she's real. She was your mother's sister. My sister too, but she didn't live like the rest of us. What do you mean? Carla hesitated again, then said, Raina was different. The doctors had words for it, but Grandma didn't believe in doctors like that. She believed in shame, in secrets, so she locked Raina away and made us pretend she didn't exist. I felt cold all over. She didn't die young? I asked. No, baby, Carla said softly. She was alive a long time, but we weren't allowed to talk about her. Your mama tried once, got beat for it. After that, she stayed quiet. I didn't know what to say. It was like I had stumbled into someone else's life, someone I was connected to, but never knew existed. She wrote about a baby brother, I said. Yeah, Carla replied. That was you. I couldn't get her name out of my head. Raina. For almost 19 years, I'd lived without ever hearing about her. Not once. No photos, no stories, no birthday mentions, just gone, like she never existed. Now I knew she had existed. And worse, she might have been locked away in the room down the hall while I was playing video games in the living room, completely unaware. How do you even begin to deal with that? After Aunt Carla hung up, I just sat there for a long time, staring at the wall in my room. I had the journal with me again. I'd snuck it out of my mom's bag when she was in the shower. I know that sounds wrong, but I needed to finish reading it. Raina wrote like someone who was trying to hold on to pieces of her mind. Mama won't let me outside. She says I talk too loud and people might hear. I don't mean to talk loud. It just feels like my head gets full, and I gotta let the thoughts out before they squeeze too hard. Another page. I saw a baby today. Mama let me hold him. She said he's my nephew, but I think he looks just like me. I whispered his name over and over when no one was looking. I stopped reading for a second after that. That had to be me. The next day, I decided I wasn't going to let it go. I didn't care if Mom wanted to keep pretending none of this happened. I needed the truth. So I waited until she was making breakfast, then sat at the kitchen table like everything was normal. She was scrambling eggs and humming, same as always. Can we talk? I asked. She gave me a quick glance. Talk about what? Raina. She dropped the spatula. It hit the stove with a loud clang and slid to the floor. She didn't pick it up right away. Why are you still thinking about that? She said, her back still to me. Because she's my aunt. Because she wrote about me. Because you lied to me for my entire life. Her shoulders tensed. She wasn't well, she said quietly. That doesn't mean she didn't matter. Now she turned around. Her eyes were glassy, and she looked like she hadn't slept all night. I loved her, she said, voice shaking. But Mama, she didn't understand mental illness. She thought Raina was possessed or cursed. She thought locking her up would fix it. But you didn't try to help her? I was 16, Darius, she said. I was scared of her one minute, heartbroken for her the next. I wanted to do something, but Mama made it clear. If I stepped out of line, I'd be next. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Did Dad know about her? No, I never told him. Why not? Because I was ashamed, she said. Not of her, of me, for letting it happen. We stood in silence for a while. Then she whispered, What do you want to know? I pulled the journal from behind my back and slid it across the counter. I want to know what happened to her. After me. After the journal. Mom slowly flipped through the pages like they were old wounds. She started writing that when she was around 15, she said. That was the year she started hearing voices. She'd talk to people who weren't there. Mama told everyone she was just dramatic. But it got worse. By the time you were born, she was having episodes almost every day. Did she ever hurt anyone? No, she said quickly. She never laid a finger on me, but she'd scream sometimes, lock herself in closets, or try to rip the wallpaper off the walls because she said it was watching her. My throat tightened. She needed help, Mom said. Real help. But Mama didn't believe in therapy or medicine, so she did what she always did. She locked up what she didn't understand. Later that afternoon, I asked Aunt Carla to meet me in person. We went to this little diner off Main Street. She looked tired, like she'd aged 10 years since the funeral. You got more questions? She asked as soon as she sat down. Yeah, I said. I want to know where Raina went. Carla sipped her coffee, then leaned in closer. They moved her when she turned 18, she said. Someplace called Magnolia Haven, small care facility down in Macon. Is she still there? She hesitated. I don't know, she admitted. Last I heard, she was doing better, drawing pictures, talking to nurses, but your mama didn't want any updates, and neither did Mama. They figured the less we knew, the easier it'd be to pretend she never existed. I swallowed hard. Do you think she'd remember me? If she's still there, Carla said, I guarantee she never forgot. That night, I flipped back through the journal one more time. There were drawings in the back, sketches of the backyard, the hallway, even the inside of the room, all detailed, all shaded in pencil, and one, folded and hidden near the last page, was a drawing of a baby. He had curly hair, wide eyes, a tiny smile. Next to the sketch were the words, My baby nephew. I hope he grows up brave enough to ask questions. I stared at it for a long time. Then I folded it and put it in my wallet. I kept looking at the drawing she did of me. Even though I was a baby in the picture, it felt like she knew me. Like she saw something in me the rest of the family never talked about. That one sketch meant more to me than anything I'd ever found in a photo album. Raina wasn't a ghost anymore. She was real, and I wanted to know everything. The next day, I told Mom I wanted to go to Macon. She froze. Why? She asked, already knowing the answer. Magnolia Haven. Her mouth tightened. You don't need to. I do, I cut in. I need to. She didn't argue after that, just nodded, quiet, and said, Be careful what you're hoping to find. The drive to Macon was long and weirdly quiet. It's funny how small towns feel heavier when you're looking for answers. Like the air thickens the closer you get to the truth. Magnolia Haven was tucked at the end of a gravel road, surrounded by pines, not a hospital. More like an old house with too many rooms and a faded sign near the mailbox. When I walked in, a woman at the front desk looked up with a practiced smile. Can I help you? I'm looking for a former patient, I said. Her name was Raina Holloway. Her smile faded a little. Relationship? I'm her nephew, I said. She was my mom's sister. She looked me over, then typed something into her computer. After a pause, she said, Hold on, let me get someone. A few minutes later, a nurse named Lillian came out. Late 50s, kind eyes, and a voice that reminded me of warm soup on a sick day. Musak, you're Raina's nephew? She asked. Yeah. She talked about you, Lillian said, all the time. I blinked. She did? Lillian nodded. Every birthday, every time she painted, she used to say, I hope my little Jay grows up brave. I almost cried right there in the lobby. She passed away 5 years ago, Lillian said softly. Heart failure. Peaceful. She was 34. I swallowed hard. Did she ever get better? She had good days, she said. Great ones, even. She loved to paint, draw, write little poems. She could be the sweetest soul, but the damage done before she got here, that stayed with her. Did anyone ever come visit? Lillian's face darkened. No, not once. She took me to Raina's old room. It had been painted over and cleaned out, but there was still a shelf in the closet with a box labeled R. Holloway Personal. Lillian said I could have it. Inside were old art supplies, notebooks, worn-down sketch pads, and a small envelope tied with red ribbon. On the front, in shaky handwriting, for Jay, if he ever comes. I opened it in my car. Inside were 5 short letters, each written on a different kind of paper, one on notebook paper, another on the back of a lunch menu, like she wrote when she could, with whatever was nearby. The first one said, I used to dream about your laugh. I don't remember if I ever really heard it, but I imagine it sounds like light coming through a window. I think I'd like that. Another one read, I'm sorry they didn't tell you about me. That's not your fault. It's not even your mama's fault. Fear makes people small. But you don't seem small. And the last one, if you're reading this, then I know you made it. You found the door they tried to keep shut. That means you're stronger than they ever gave you credit for. I sat in that parking lot and cried harder than I ever had in my life. Not just for her. For what she didn't get. For the birthdays, the sunlight, the freedom, the people she should have had around her. For the time stolen by fear and shame and silence. When I got home, I asked my mom if she wanted to read the letters. She didn't answer right away. Just sat at the table, staring at her hands. I was afraid of becoming her, she whispered. I had nightmares for years that I'd start hearing voices too. Mama told me that kind of thing ran in the blood. So I kept my head down, and I shut her out. I didn't say anything. I let her keep going. I didn't go visit. I didn't write. I convinced myself she was better off not seeing me. And the truth is, I was just a coward. That night, I went back through Raina's sketchbook. On the final page was a drawing of a locked door with light coming out from underneath it. Underneath it, in tiny writing, she had scribbled, "One day, someone will turn the knob." And I realized maybe that someone was me. There's something weird that happens when you find out your family wasn't telling the whole truth. You don't just start questioning what they hid. You start questioning everything. Your memories, your childhood, even the parts that felt good suddenly have shadows in them. Like, now I wonder, was Raina in that room the same days I was blowing out birthday candles in the living room? Was she ever watching from behind that old curtain in the hallway while I played with my toys? Was her laugh ever confused with wind? After I read the last letter from her, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that final drawing, the door with light under it. I kept hearing her words, "One day, someone will turn the knob." And that's when I knew the story couldn't end with me just knowing the truth. It had to go further. It had to be told. The next morning, I got out the box from Magnolia Haven and laid everything across my bedroom floor. Raina's art, her poems, the letters, all of it. Then I opened my laptop and started typing. Not for an assignment, not for a blog, just for me, to get it down before it disappeared into the background noise of life. But once I finished, I knew it couldn't just stay saved on my desktop. So I made a page online. I called it Raina's Room. I uploaded the journal entries, scanned the drawings, and recorded myself reading her letters aloud. I told people about the locked door, about my grandma, about how silence can look like protection, but feel like a cage. At first, I didn't think anyone would care, but they did. Messages started coming in. Other people who had siblings or cousins or parents with mental illness. People who were told to keep it quiet or act normal when nothing about their situation was normal. One person messaged me, "Your aunt sounds like the kind of person who deserved more than the world gave her. Thank you for giving her back her voice." I printed that message and taped it inside her journal. That weekend, I took the sketch of the locked door and framed it. I hung it right above my bed. So every morning, I'd see it. Not as a sad thing, but as a reminder that I had the key now. And the choice to open more doors in the future. Not just for Raina, but for whoever else might be locked away in silence. My mom didn't say much when I told her about the website. She just nodded and whispered, she would have loved that. She's still working through it. I don't expect a perfect ending. This isn't that kind of story. But the other night, I saw her standing in the hallway outside my room, holding Raina's sketchbook. She didn't see me. She was just staring at one of the pictures, a drawing of two girls holding hands under a tree. I think it was supposed to be her and Raina back when they were kids, before everything went wrong. Aunt Carla started writing poems again. She sent me one she wrote for Raina's birthday. They tried to write you out, but ink doesn't scare the truth. You lived, even in whispers. I printed that too. It's on the homepage of the site now. Sometimes I still walk past old houses and wonder how many more locked rooms there are, how many more people were hidden because they made the world uncomfortable, and how many were waiting, just like Raina, for someone to knock. A few months later, I visited her grave. It wasn't marked, just a patch of earth near the tree line. I brought a new headstone. Simple. Clean. Just her name. Raina Holloway. She was not invisible. Before I left, I played a voice recording I made from her letters. I let the words float into the breeze. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like something was missing. I felt like something had finally been found. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you want to share your stories, please comment below. Additionally, what is your opinion on the poster's decision?